Hello and welcome back to Book Week. I'm Angela Cripps, the MD of the Recruiting Gym, and I'm so pleased to bring you this morning Theo Smith. Good morning, Theo. How are you doing?
Morning. Really good. Thank you. Great to be here.
Now, I met you at the it was the in-house recruiters. You were speaking at that event, I believe, last year, and certainly you grabbed my attention. You're looking quite normal today. We have described you as the quirky Theo. You're not always this normal, are you?
No. The thing is, my personality is big and bright, but also it can be quite tame and quiet and laid back, depending on the environment and things. So I try to dress loud and proud, like the extreme version of myself when I go to events, because actually I struggle with going up to people. Really good way for people to come up to you, or just to stand and look at you strangely. Either way, you create some kind of attention.
Well, you
Helps.
definitely do that, and I love that idea. I must admit, my last tour, I bought myself a really bright, not bright, but stripy jacket. It was quite striking, and also so people can find you in a crowd because
I
it's like,
always get that.
yeah, you can spot you quite easily. But the reason I sat in the front row and I wanted to hear what you had to say is because you've been nominated for our book week. I would say at least 3 weeks of the times that we're doing it. Every time we're doing it, who should we have? Get Theo Smith on. So when I saw you, I was like, brilliant. Okay, here's my opportunity to get you onto Book Week, because your book, Neurodiversity at Work, we've had quite a few different people nominate it as well. So let's get into it then. You wrote this book with Amanda Kirby. What made you write the book in the first place?
So I couldn't find it. I was part of a group called the RR100, and I went down 5 years ago, I think now, possibly longer. And I sat in a room with 50 other recruitment leaders from all different types of organizations. Most of them had come from 360 backgrounds. They'd gone into in-house and gone into recruitment communications, a variety of different careers, but ended up in fairly senior roles. And they were part of this group, and we were sat in a room. And on the train on the way down to go to this event, it was the first type of event I've been to. I was excited to be part of this group, because I almost have an imposter syndrome that I shouldn't be there, right? Because I struggled a bit. I've had some other challenges. We won't go into it now, but
Yeah.
I was going down to try and network with this group. And when I sat there in this room with the first topic on neurodiversity, I was like, what is this going to be? Like, diversity is already quite complex. It's challenging within organizations. We're struggling to get beyond gender, and we're making a mess of that anyway. 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And so when I sat there and heard this topic, it was like a train hit me, or a light bulb went off in my head of
Oh, wow.
realization. And not because I had no idea, but because it just connected so many dots. I already had cousins who were autistic and ADHD. Some needed specialist care, 24/7 care. Some had other challenges, parental challenges. There was lots going on. It was complex. And that's the human brain, right? Their life experiences were complex. So it wasn't that it didn't exist in my family. It's just that I saw autism and ADHD as exactly that. As within my family, it looked very different. It looked like 24/7 care. It looked like challenges environment within, maybe within local authority. And so it, like that, clouded my mind on what it could be. So when I sat in this room and heard about the concept of diversity, and that actually it was all of us, we're all neurologically unique, but some of us have faced barriers specifically because of the way that our brain works, because of the natural variation of our brain. We may be facing barriers because of stuff humans built, right? Last
Yeah.
300 years, we've built stuff that is like no other time in history. Our brains have not had enough time to evolve, to adapt to the world that we live in. Bright lights, noisy environments. We live in chicken coops in terms of work environments, busy cities, electric vehicles. Now, all of these
We
concepts.
forget that. And a lot of it's the last sort of 100, 150 years, isn't it? Yeah,
Exactly.
evolution doesn't work that quickly.
So it blew my mind. And immediately I thought, I have to do something about this. At the same time, my wife and I were experiencing some challenges with one of our children. And they were facing challenges with them, didn't seem to reflect others. So it was like this wave of stuff happening. And I also randomly took a consultancy role with the National Institute of Health and Care Excellence to focus on modernising their recruitment and parachuting in to completely transform their recruitment. And National Institute of Health and Care Excellence provide the evidence-based research that goes into the NHS that advises them on what they call technology, which is drugs, but also on the advice and guidance on how medics or clinicians or doctors in surgeries should identify and support somebody who may come in and go, I think I'm autistic or ADHD, can you help? I worked for that organisation at this moment of realisation, and I just thought, I've got to do something, and I could find no positive information out there. It was all negative. There was nothing to help people in HR or recruitment, no help for businesses, and I just thought, I've got to do something. And I reached out to the community, and I was told, you need to write the book, Theo. You need to write the book.
And this is just 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago. And the only stuff that existed were long lists by professionals, academics, clinicians. The people that we go to for help were writing 100 things on why an autistic person has issues, right? And then they'd write one thing saying, oh, but they might become a good developer, because that is what someone taught, because they read something about IBM or Microsoft doing an autism at work program that they have no understanding of. All they see is the medical terminology, which is they don't like bright lights, they have trauma, they will struggle to interact with other people, they can't go to normal traditional education, they can't do this, they can't do that, they can't do that. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like I've had significant challenges as a young person, but look at where I am, and I'm not having that. Like my child, like crossed off in life, they're already going to need drug support. They're never going to have a proper job. They're never going to. No.
And we know this for a fact already. I mean, we're a team of 12. Yes, I was going to show it in a second. We're a team of 12, and 2 are diagnosed ADHD out of our team, and more people in recruitment. As we talk about this topic, we had a whole week on neurodiversity with Joe Major as well, dipping into that, and we can realise that Vanessa Rath, our sourcing coach, calls it a superpower. It gives you so much opportunity to achieve.
Thrown out all the incredible people now.
Yeah, exactly, and certainly a lot of CEOs and MDs, certainly those visionaries, when they boil it down to it, yes, dyslexia, but a lot of autism and on that spectrum, further up that spectrum. So we know it can be turned to great advantage. So I'm so glad that you wrote this book, because I can't believe there wasn't anything out there. So the fact that we've got this now, who's saying it like, oh, Vanessa's there we go, proudly ADHD, brilliant.
Just to an important point there, when you were just mentioning all of those, something we now know that we can validate is that co-occurrence is the norm, which can be very confusing. So we don't live in a single box of autism or ADHD or dyslexia. Many people like myself identify as dyslexic, autistic, and ADHD. And by the way, who knows what else? And because of that, they may then develop other mental health challenges as well, because of the lack of understanding around the way the human brain's working. So this realization is enriching our experience, our conversations, our feeling of self and having self-worth. Really empowering.
Definitely. So knowing all of that, my next question is probably even more pertinent to you, which is, what was the hardest bit about getting it over the line and getting it finished? So
I'm now writing the second book with Amanda Kirby, and the second book is neurodiversity for parents, right? Because
brilliant.
That is the other big piece, that we don't see the right type of book that is helping. There's actually now many books that have come out over the last 5 years. Actually, we bought some, and there's somebody who lives in my community who's written a book to support kids with play, right? So there are books that's around SEN, special educational needs, right? But the parental book, not how to support kids, but how to be a parent and all of that piece, which is really complex. And I get messages all the time about that. that is a bit that we've decided that is really important that we need to tackle. And the laughable thing is the same thing with the other book. When I wrote the other book, I didn't write it because I thought I would do something with it, although it's been very empowering and powerful in terms of what I do. I wrote it because I needed it, and I knew other TA people and HR people needed it. Same with this book. I don't know where this will take me. It's almost a distraction which is typical of my brain, which is I'm not in that space of working with education and parents in the healthcare sector. But I know the parents need the book because I get messages every day asking for it. So
I can link you up with a SENS teacher. She's actually a children's author. So she wrote children's. I'll link you up with Kath Wheatley. She's going to be on our hiring happenings when we do the sociological bit. Yeah. So
amazing. Because we need the voices. Yeah. In this book, we incorporate a lot of voices. So the reason why I'm mentioning this second book is because for the last 2 to 3 months, right, I've had to do one job, which is we put it all in Google Drive, the start of the book. We were getting our ideas down, Amanda and I. Yeah. And I did this last time, typical of me, and just getting stuff in Google Drive. And then I remembered, hang on a minute, we did this last time. And then the publishers asked us to transfer it to Word, and that was a pain. When you transferred it, it wasn't exactly the same in terms of the. You then having to restyle everything, which is a nightmare. And they're going to do their own stuff, but you still have to send it with certain criteria to the publisher. And so then I said to Amanda, shall I transfer it to Word? And she's like, yeah, that'd be brilliant. 2 months I've not transferred it to Word. But when you ask me what one of the challenges are, and this was the similar challenge I've always had in recruitment, I know I need to phone a candidate. I want to phone the candidate. Everything about me knows I just need to have a chat with that candidate. Yeah. But there's something in my head that stops me doing it. There's terminology for this now. I've not been diagnosed, so I'm not going to use it. For the purpose of this conversation, I don't think it's important. What's important to understand is, for some of us, we find significant barriers to be able to do certain tasks. And sometimes I don't know whether it's the ADHD, the autism, the dyslexia, the combination of all. But it's a task I really want to do, but I just can't do it. So right in the book, one of the most difficult things for me was my brain. Yes, I'm highly creative. Yes, you put me in a crisis, I will smash that crisis out of the park. You tell me in 1 hour, the world's going to explode and we just got to do everything we can to stop it exploding. Watch me go. You give me a task in the garden, I'll be there from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. Like, I'm there. Problem is, you give me something that has no real deadline. It's important. I want to do it. We know that we've got a wider deadline of 12 months to deliver the book. I've taken 2 months. Now, some of the issues with that is I knew there was some other barriers. I know that I was having some challenges with my 365. I knew I was having some other issues that meant login details would be a problem. I knew that it wouldn't be smooth. So I know, but what I've done is I've made that Everest.
Yeah.
In actual fact, it's 3 hours or 4 hours of pain because it's admin, but it's 3 or 4 hours. But I'm so busy, I can always fill my time with 1,000,001 other things. Social media.
It's like every recruiter, isn't it?
Exactly.
There's always something else.
There's always another candidate you can call. There's always another list you can create. There's always a job you can go and find. There's anything. And a disproportionate amount of people who are recruiters are probably dyslexic and ADHD because it was such an easy route to get in, where I couldn't get into HR for love nor money. But I put my CV on Monster at the time, right? And I would get calls left, right, and centre, not to do jobs, some sales jobs. They'd be like, "Do you want to work for us?" Because they look at my CV and go, "Oh, this is a recruiter all day long." So the big barrier for me, the same barrier I've faced since day one, but now I know and understand it. So it still took me 2 months. But when I finally sat down and did it and managed to get through it and transferred it, yesterday, even though I was not well, I started work at about 7 and I was still working at 8 o'clock in the night aggressively because I knew there's a trigger that when you do that thing that was being the barrier for 2 months, the feeling of relief and the feeling of, why was I leaving it so long? And all of that, does something to my brain where I become a supercharged vehicle and will just move everything out of my way. The only problem with that, and other people may find this, is then I wish the day didn't end. The only reason why I had to stop at 8 is because I still had to get the kids to bed, and I'd already pushed that too late. We still hadn't eaten or anything else, and we were still getting to 9. So, but really, what I wanted to do is carry on working till 4 because I was in hyper focus mode.
Yeah,
and
Once you get going, it's really hard then to stop, isn't it? So you've got
the barrier was my brain
battling.
My brain is the thing that created the award-winning book.
Well, that's what I want to reference here. So it's with an award-winning publishing company as well. So Neurodiversity. Oh, look, sign up. You get 15% straight away off your first order. So that's great. That's the link that we've given you. So you've got neurodiversity at work here. Drive innovation, performance, and productivity with a neurodiverse workforce. Every HR business should have this, shouldn't they? So that's the last question. What are people going to get out of it if they buy the book? Yeah,
so everybody who talks about it as an easy read. And the reason why it's an easy read is because I can't read properly. I've always struggled to read. I can't write properly. I can't use grammar. I can't hold a pen properly. I've never really learned. I hold it really awkwardly, so I get cramps. Computer is life-saving for me. So I have written that book, and the way that I did it is through conversations predominantly and through telling. And so the book is written in that style. We've incorporated around 30 plus voices. It was really important for me, and Amanda as well, because she's a natural networker, was to include as many voices as possible so that we weren't stuck in a silo. Because this was the first of its type. It didn't exist, and therefore we had an opportunity to include people in it, and so we did. And therefore the whole narrative, start to end, is like the employee life cycle. So if you don't want to read the whole book, you could buy it and go, I'm interested in the recruitment, marketing, employer branding piece of neurodiversity at work. I'm interested in the legal aspects. I'm interested in what's happening with children, and because we include all of that, right from what is neurodiversity to we include the prison pipeline, we include right through, and we've included the important voices that really matter and still matter today in the community.
We've got Anthony McCormack there saying, thanks for sharing your hard-earned wisdom, Theo. Oh, that was Vanessa. That's another one. Oh, I need to get my hands on your book. I picked the wrong one. It's the one below it. Let's do that one as well. Pick up from those, because that's the thing. It's all well and good someone saying there isn't a book out here that's got this, we need to write it. But actually writing it, getting those 30 voices involved, as well as getting it over the line and published, and now already onto your second book, is amazing. So we look forward to that. There are so many parents out there that will be going, yes, I need this, because actually there's not even a lot of books. Well, we don't get trained to be parents at all, really, do we? Apart from what we learn from our parents, which is not always the best way. But I'd
say there's a lot of poor books training on parents because they don't account for neurodiversity. Yeah, the books we read when we were first-time parents was for an ND child. So at the time, we didn't know our first child was autistic, ADHD. So we're reading books that are making you feel bad because you're not being able to do the things that it's telling you. So from a very early age, we're beating ourselves up because our child won't breastfeed effectively, because our child won't sleep, because our child won't eat, won't do this and won't do that, because our child does all the things they tell you is bad and you're doing it wrong if these happen. So to be honest, the parental books often, for me and our situation, are damaging.
Yeah, it's doing the opposite, isn't it? So, okay, we need that book. They've given you a deadline of a year. So when's it likely to be on the shelves?
Oh, it'd take longer than that. So it'll be to the end of this year to write it, and probably 6 months before it hits the shelves. Excellent. In reality, but that's, that will go through in a blink of an eye.
Exactly. And we'll get you back So let us know as soon as it's ready to publish. We'll get you back. We've got Cassia Tang tomorrow on her sourcing book. So we'll be back again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Theo, thank you so much for sharing and for letting us know the process that you went through. Go get the book, click on the links. Like we say, every HR person, every recruiter should have this, because it's going to make a big difference to the way that you approach things. Wonderful. Yeah.
Finally, go find my YouTube channel, Theo Neurodiversity with Theo Smith, also podcast channel. But go find my YouTube channel, because plenty of video content that comes with the same themes.
Oh, I've lost you at the end there for some reason. Charlotte will be on that. So YouTube, podcast, we'll get all those links in there as well. We've already got your LinkedIn link in there for your profile. So hopefully you've got all those listed in your contact details as well, so that people can find those. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Theo. We'll see you tomorrow with Cassia Tang. Bye-bye.